everybody here to the Coach V Show. Our shorter segments is what we're going to be doing from here on out. And today we are going to be featuring Brother Malcolm Russell, who is the Vice President of Easter Seals Enterprises here in Northern California. And he's going to share a tremendous story about his Filipino mom and his African-American father, who was in the military, and they're out from Marshall, Texas. Grew up in Oceanside. Shout out Oceanside, all the Samoas, Samoans, Tongans, and Filipinos and island folks out in Oceanside. Shout out to Oceanside. And he will be sharing a tremendous story, one that, to do the right thing and make the hard decisions by doing the right thing when no one is watching. Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Coach V Show. And now a word from our sponsor.
My Free Pharmacy is the future of pharmacy today. We are a membership-based pharmacy headquartered in Ohio, and we ship door-to-door for your monthly prescription. My Free Pharmacy offers 91% of the most prescribed generic medications in the U.S. 87% of all prescriptions in America are filled with generic medication. At My Free Pharmacy, we are laser-focused on delivering medications Americans actually use. For a monthly subscription of $19.95 for individuals or $29.95 for households, we can ship all your generic medication with no shipping costs. Call us for a free analysis on how we can save your company or organization up to 40 to 60%. Sign up today at myfreepharmacy.com/join and get your generic prescriptions free with a paid monthly membership. Visit myfreepharmacy.com/join and start saving today.
Welcome to the Coach V Show, your Hollywood radio show for personal development with expert insights and interviews to help you, me, and we work to be our best and live our best life. Offering for your consideration through some of my insights, as well as the featured guests it is that we have their insights. This for your consideration: success frameworks, behavioral models, and life lessons that if you should find value in them, that you please subscribe and deploy it all over your life, leadership, and business. Here on the Coach V Show, where iron sharpens iron, together we rise, powered by the Island City Media Group, where the beats meets the streets. We are broadcast from Hollywood, California's Dash Radio studios. Shout out Dash Radio. And today I am super juiced to have one of my brothers on the show, Brother Malcolm Russell, who is currently the Vice President of Easter Seals Enterprises here in Easter Seals, Superior of California. Malcolm is born in Marshall, Texas. That's why he's a Cowboys fan living here in California, but we'll get to that. Raised in Oceanside, California. Shout out Oceanside. He attended Mount Miguel High School in Spring Valley, California in San Diego County. While in high school, he became a peer educator with Project Enable with the San Diego Urban League. From an early age, Malcolm knew he wanted to be in the business of helping others. So he left the San Diego Urban League and became a board member of the San Diego Youth and Community Service. Malcolm became a father at the young age of 20. So he enlisted in these United States of America's Army. And during his tenure, he earned the Distinguished Service Medal, the Bronze Star for his first trip downrange in Iraq, and his personal favorite, the Ranger tab. Currently, Malcolm, as I said in the beginning, introducing him as the VP, Vice President of Easter Seals Enterprises, where they provide opportunities for people with disabilities so that they will have an equal opportunity to live, learn, work, and play in their communities. Malcolm has a master's in business from the University of Phoenix from 2013, and he will resume his academic endeavors with a master's in organizational leadership from Golden Gate University in San Francisco, beginning the new year of January 2023. Welcome to the Coach V Show, your boy, Mr. VP himself of Easter Seals, Brother Malcolm Russell. Malcolm, welcome to the show, brother.
Appreciate it, Coach. I appreciate it, man. I loved the way you introduced me, and I truly have to give props to you for help coach, guiding, and mentoring me over the past year. So thank you, Coach.
No, my pleasure. I mean, the coaching I did for you, that's only part of it. The fact that you hit two 3-pointers when you came in to the championship for Team 4 at the
Team
Morse
4.
Park, the most renowned outdoor, well, at least our basketball league.
In our world, yes.
You know what I mean? So Malcolm, thanks for coming on the show. Malcolm, tell us about your story, being born. Where were you born? And talk to us about your genesis point, Brother Malcolm.
Man, you know what? So not so long ago, but long ago, I was born in Marshall, Texas. My old man was in the Marine Corps. My mother is from the Philippines. So when they met in the Philippines, made me. And so I was born at Marshall. The funny story is my father was actually transitioning us from Marshall, Texas to Oceanside, California, right at Camp Pendleton. And I threw a monkey wrench in the whole program, broke the water, decided to come out. And that's why I was born in my father's hometown of Marshall, Texas. Grew up in Oceanside, typical knucklehead stuff that individuals that grew up on the east side where I grew up of Oceanside, a bunch of crazy knuckleheads doing crazy knucklehead stuff, but learning the lessons not only of culture and community, but there was nothing where it was straight up Hispanics and then Blacks in my community in the neighborhood I grew up in. And the funny thing is, my mother is a very, very pale skinned Filipino. So they just assumed that my mother was white until she spoke. And then you already knew from that standpoint because she was speaking to him in Tagalog, maybe even cussing them out in Tagalog, who knows? But her English wasn't the best. That wasn't her first language. But now, well, you can't stop her now. You can't stop her now.
Did she used to get at you like Joe Coy?
Oh, man.
Man, she used to get you like, Malcolm. Well,
come here.
How was it?
Knuckle, come here. Come here, Knuckle. If I'm sick, when Joe Coy made those comments, a lot of the stories that Joe Coy says that he states when he's on stage, I'm a living testament. I had Vicks Vapor Rub on my chest. I had it under my nose. I had it on my feet with the sock put on top of it so the pneumonia comes out. That's, I didn't know I had pneumonia. That's what she said. And that's what executed, man. And I tell you, not only am I grateful for the way I was raised, my upbringing, because we were poor. Oh, man. Brother V, when I tell you we were poor, we would get government cheese from the community. In the block. Cheese. About this big, right? About this thick. And you try to make a grilled cheese sandwich and it wasn't very grilled. It was definitely cheesed, but it wasn't grilled. Yeah. That was him putting hot dogs in your top ramen and your noo-noos. That was or spam. Yeah. Coming up with spam and eggs and rice. We had rice with everything growing up as a youngster. It was like you had a bowl of cereal, so you had some Rice Krispies and you had a bowl of rice.
Right. Introduce us to your parents, please, Malcolm. Who are you?
My mother is from Cebu, Philippines, one of the islands there. Her name is Maria, and she is the first woman I ever loved as a young man. I am a mama's boy. When my mom calls, it doesn't matter what's going on. If she needs something and I have the ability to make it happen and affect change, it's done. My old man, let me tell you, this is I didn't realize how much I am of my old man until I've come into I just hit 46 earlier this month.
Yes, sir.
And so I'm blessed to have seen 46 years, and I'm working my darnest to make 47. God willing, I'll hit 47. My old man, Samuel Ray Russell, old country boy, had country thought processes, had country raising from, when he put his hand on my backside as a youngster, I knew from a young age, that's not the man I'm crossing. As a matter of fact, I'm still not crossing him to this very day.
Yes, sir.
I am afraid the right fear of my father I fear my father because, one, he's my dad. Period. He's my dad. And at the end of this month, well, just in case he sees this podcast, might find out what's going on. But I'm going to take him to a football game. We're both Cowboys fans. We both bleed blue. We ride and die with that silver and blue star. And we're going to both go see our first Dallas Cowboys game at the new stadium together. Me and my old man going to watch the Chicago Bears and the Cowboys play.
Nice. So talk to me about, because family for my wife and I are everything, but we've come from families. Both Martha and I were family is everything. Both parents raised both of us. They were together always. And so Martha and I and the kids are the same way. Talk about some life lessons, take a minute or two about some life lessons you learned from their example as parents, growing up hard, government cheese, man. The two of you guys know all about government cheese and trying to slice that bread without slice that cheese without cutting off my fingers or slicing off something. and then government bread, man. I love grilled cheese, and that American cheese was freaking phenomenal. It melts so good. So talk about some of the life lessons you learned from your parents as parents that you do now, and just some life lessons that they instilled into you, Brother Malcolm.
One that automatically pops to mind, as I alluded to earlier, my old man is country. Texas living is how my old man was raised. And he used to say something to me that was just, it messed my mind up. But as a youngster, I think this is part of the good fear that my old man instilled in me at a young age. And he used to say, boy, I brought you in this world, I'll take you out.
Right.
Yeah, he used to say it because the one thing that I would automatically do, throughout all grade school as an adolescent, it was talkative. I always had an opinion, and I supported whatever my opinion was, even if it was wrong. At least I was consistent, right? So even in grade school, the one thing he would look at, I would be, for the most part, a B+ A kind of student, excelled at recess. So I was always athletic, but talkative, right? I got a U, unsatisfied. That was back in the day. I don't know if they do that today. They give you U's for unsatisfactory, but when it came to talkative, I did it on a regular basis. And one of the tricks that he pulled on me and this is in his early days as a young Marine, he came in uniform to my school, Palmquist Elementary, and I was cutting up. I was definitely cutting up. And this is back in the days where the principal can put a swatting on your behind if you get out of pocket. And Miss Gilbert, I'll never forget her. She called my old man and requested permission to put one on my backside. And I heard that man give her the green light. And so my eyes wide open, I was like, oh, this is, it ain't gonna be nothing, because I've been taking whoopings from my old man. And she pulled out that paddle with the holes in it for aerodynamics. And she taught me something good. That talkative aspect was resorted now to the playground, right. Because that didn't feel good. And to know that he gave not only permission at that moment, but in the future, you don't even have to call.
Wow.
I heard his voice. I heard him say, because she had him on speaker, and he gave her the green light to put it to my backside. And if I needed it again in the future, just go ahead and execute. I said, why don't you talk to my mama?
And what about some life lessons from Maria, your mom?
Oh, man. My mother is the hardest working woman that I've ever known. I know I get my work ethic, that grind out from her. I watched her grind out 2 or 3 jobs when my sister and I were in our single digits. And she still came home. We didn't have a lot of money or much of anything, to be honest with you. But we had enough inside the home that maybe we didn't get a chance to eat Kraft singles for grilled cheese. It was the government cheese. But we never went without. And that was because of her hard work, her work ethic, her dedication to the jobs that she did. And my mother only had a third grade education and in the Philippines. And so when, you come in here to the United States as the wife of a Marine, but you don't quite speak the language, especially down there in the South, because, the South is a little different. They roll a little different when they're talking, right? They got that Southern drawl. And so that was kind of a little different to her. I'm sure when she spoke, it was a little different to them. But that's truly one of the things that I can hang my hat on, is that my mother, my Nye, is the hardest working woman that I've ever met.
Talk about high school. I mean, Oceanside is renowned in the Polynesian community for having some fellas come out of there. Wait, where did Junior come from? Where did Junior Seau come from?
He lived off on in the valley, in the deep valley.
But he's an Oceanside guy.
Yeah, he went to Oceanside High. Oh yeah, he went with my cousin.
I just remember that. So like he and some of the other brothers. I mean, there was two brothers that played. One played at Kansas City. Another Samoan brother was out there. Man, I forgot his name. He is a jokester too. But I mean, Oceanside is renowned for being street, being hood, but then also that it's about community and helping one another. And there's just a vibe in Oceanside that I love every time I'm down there. Talk about Oceanside High School, cutting up. You use that phrase. What does cutting up mean? So explain to the audience your upbringing, please.
Well, gangs are prevalent down in, especially at that time. I don't know what it's like today.
Yeah. Like late 80s, early 90s, right?
Yes. This is back when the cocaine, if you will, was for white folks and crack was for black folks. I hate to put it that way, but that's in essence what I saw coming up as a youngster. So from I'm gonna say I slang Danny Kane. I dabbled a little bit as a youngster, but I definitely banged. Was a part of a Crip neighborhood in the valley, the Deep Valley. So from like maybe the latter portion of 6th grade to 14, and then it came to an abrupt stop because I ended up in juvenile hall. Now I've spent my fair share of time locked up between 10 and 12 years old.
Wow.
I should say 12 to 14. That's probably more appropriate. 12 to 14 from banging, grand theft auto, assault with a deadly weapon. I had my fair share of thump sessions. I got expelled from Lincoln Junior High School and I ended up going to a continuation school that was just off of Mission Boulevard. And then that was, I got my last case, if you will, when I was 14, which put me in I stayed in the juvenile hall system. I ended up becoming a ward of the state, unfortunately. But that's how, some of the things that you were speaking of earlier, like SDYCS, San Diego Youth and Community Services, I was a recipient of their services when I was in one of their homes, kind of like a transitional home at the age of 14. I don't even think I hit 15 yet. And not only was I a recipient of the services for high-risk youth, I ended up becoming one of their prominent actors and two of the theater groups that came out of SDYCS, Art Street, and Teen Connection. Even to this very day, some of my brothers and sisters that came up with, we were all high-risk youth coming up and doing some boneheaded things, if you will. we still family friends to this very day. They're my brothers and sisters. We performed together. We went out to Julian, California to write our scripts and eat the apple pies that come from out there on the far east end of San Diego County, going out to Julian. I learned a lot of lessons, and some of those lessons are even applicable today as the man that you see before you. Obviously, experiences, well, that's the best teacher. Passing on that experience, that means you're the great mentor. And that's what I've done. I am a father of three. My son, Dakari, is 25. My middle son, Shamar, is 19, and my baby girl is 18. And she's a freshman down at CSU LA. Dakari, my son, he lives in Oakland, and Shamar is out here in Citrus Heights with his mother. So I've instilled certain things, certain sayings. As a matter of fact, I had a conversation with my oldest son last night. We were talking about some of the negative things he's experiencing in his workplace environment. And I said, well, I started to say something and he finished it. That's when you know, whatever information you're passing on to your children, and it is actually sticking. May have taken 20 years for it to happen, but it happened. And so one of the major lessons that I've taught my children was the hardest thing to do. And he finished it. And the response to the hardest thing to do is the right thing when no one is looking. It's the hardest thing to do in the workplace. We can all get away with a little bit of this and a little bit of that, but doing the hard right versus the easy wrong will be more to your benefit. So that's, it's true. It was 8:00 last night. He and I was having this conversation. And so, the fatherhood status doesn't change. It doesn't stop just because he's not being raised in my home. And, I'm checking on his homework, that kind of stuff. I'm still his old man. And I have now that he's an adult, as a 25-year-old man, I can have grown man type conversations with him that's real. I don't have to sugarcoat anything and just say, hey, right is right and wrong is wrong. Now I can tell you the context as to what I'm talking about.
That's awesome. And talk about, before you mentioned the kids, and in your bio, which I didn't know, was that so you enlisted because you became and was going to become a father at the age of 20.
Yes.
And then talk about also the life lessons that you learned while being in the Army, being a Ranger, and then the achievements that you achieved, right? The Distinguished Service Medal, the Bronze Star, and your Ranger tag, please.
Man, well, I remember when he was born, and I was a supervisor for Muni, working in the city. I did security for Muni. And, I didn't make a lot of money, but I made enough not to live in San Francisco at that time, but enough to make sure that food was on this table, that clothes was on its back. And the one aspect that I did not realize or understand at the ripe age of 19, 20 years of age was medical. I didn't understand medical. I was never taught what the aspect of insurance and how important insurance is and how interesting it's going to be when you don't. So I enlisted in the military, in the Army, because I wanted to be able to provide medical for my son. He had Dakari, my oldest one. He had asthma as a youngster, and I wanted to ensure that if there's something I could do to make sure he is okay, then that's the actions I'm going to take as his father. And in this instance, it was join the military because they'll take care of everything. You got your medical, you're going to always have food, you definitely have a job, and you definitely will have an on-time paycheck on the 1st and the 15th of every month, right? That's just without question, it's going to be there. Now, the higher rank you are, the more money you make. So then that drove me to want to become a better leader, because I believe I was already a leader at the time. I just wasn't developed. I have some diehard friends, some brothers, some battle buddies that took me under their wing when I was a youngster. As a matter of fact, Command Sergeant Major, he's retired now, Command Sergeant Major Silva, he came to me and he just got back from Ranger School himself. He was a distinguished honor grad. And so I asked him, I was like, well, hey, son, what do you got to do to become the distinguished honor grad? And then he gave me the playbook, if you will. You got to know this, 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 and this, and this, and you got to be able to execute this, this, and this, and this, and this. And you got to be in top-notch physical fitness. Well, I wasn't worried about the physical fitness part. I felt I was top-notch. We were scoring damn near 300s on our test all the time. And this is back in the late 90s. He taught me operational stuff. Now I can't even think of the word now. I just lost it. But operational, how do you implement fragos? How do you put warnos together and actually tell your troops what you expect, how we're going to do it, how we're going to rehearse it, and how we're going to execute said task. In essence, how do we meet the commander's intent? And that's where I learned it. And some of those lessons, like troop leading procedures, I still practice them to this very day. I practice it at Easter Seals. I just did it this morning because as a leader, I've never been a micromanager. And I don't think I ever will become a micromanager. If I ever have an individual under me or under my tutelage as a subordinate, et cetera, to where I feel I have to micromanage he or she, then he or she is not going to be part of my training because I don't manage that way. I empower my staff to do the right thing. I empower them to make decisions. I want you to make decisions. I'd rather you make a bad decision than no decision at all, because we can work that. Can't work no decision, because then that means something fell through the crack. That's unacceptable. What did I tell Ranger Task? So Ranger School was probably the most difficult task for those 2.5 months that I did it, or 2 months. I went straight through. I didn't recycle when I went through. Between Fort Benning phase, so the first phase is Benning, and then second is Dahlonega, and then the third is Fort Walton. Before I forgot what they call it, but it's Fort Walton, Florida. And man, I tell you, if you ever want to find out what you're made of, if you know, or for you to find out if you got what it takes to make something happen, go to Ranger School. You will either be humbled, or you're going to be tired and you're going to be hungry, right? Sleeping, food deprivation, that whole shebang. But bottom line was, the testing to me of Ranger School was, do you have what it takes to make it happen? Which is a yes or no answer. And if you are, will you be able to execute said mission, irregardless of what the mission is, or how dire and ugly that mission is? Will you make it happen, though you be the lone survivor? And the answer is unequivocally yes. Now, I can't go back to Ranger School today. I would not go back to Ranger School today. However, the lessons learned, the training curriculum, the mental strength that you have to have, the moral compass you have to have in order to execute that task, I still have it, and it's still embedded into me to this very day.
The Bronze Star.
Yeah, man. I earned the Bronze Star, and matter of fact, it's in my man cave now. There's 2 generals. Well, actually, there's 4, but I'm going to speak on 2. There's 2 generals that I just said, whatever they say as a soldier, I will see to it that mission is complete. First one is a Marine General, Mathis, Mad Dog. He is one of the baddest mofos you can probably come across when it comes to anybody rocking that uniform. He's one. General Petraeus is the second one, and General Petraeus was actually the general officer who signed my Bronze Star back in 04, 05. when I was in Iraq, between Baghdad and Taji. And my job at that time was to train the Third Iraqi Army from the battalion level, and go out on missions with the Iraqi Army was a little interesting. I remember seeing things like, unfortunately, some units went out on a mission in Taji, and a good amount of the Iraqi Army members, they came into contact, and they ran. They ran backwards. And not only did they run backwards, they were taking off their uniforms, had different clothing underneath. So now you don't know who is who, right? Because one of the things that we truly identify, especially when it comes to combat operations, is, does the individual wear the same uniform that you're wearing, right? Is that your battle buddy? Is he covering your six? Is he watching your left and your right? But when an individual takes off their uniform and they have on regular clothing, just like the enemy has on regular clothing, how do you decipher and determine who's friend or foe? So those were some of the most difficult tasks that I had to experience. The battle buddies that I was with on my 10-man team, I was a part of this 10-man team called CMAT, Coalition Military Assistance Training Team, Det 7. I remember it just like it was yesterday. We trained up together for 6 or 7 months, and then we went out to Iraq to execute our mission, and we did it fairly well.
Wow. Amazing. Amazing. And then now you're currently the VP of Easter Seals. We're running out on time. So about a minute. Like, what do you do as the vice president?
Well, my president, Gary Kasai, hired me for 3 reasons. He wanted me to, one, provide proper leadership. That's what this division was lacking. And I concurred. I wasn't even on the job like 48 hours. And I said, yes, I completely see why you want me doing what you asked. So number one was provide proper leadership. Number two was to change the culture. Change the culture to a can-do, for us, through us, by us. And that's my thing. That's the way I word it to my staff. And then finally, as a business major, Easter Seal Enterprises oversees 2 different entities when it comes to training, rehabbing, and putting adults with disabilities to work. And that's through custodial as well as landscape. And now, so those are the only 2 we have under the books at the moment. And my job is to expand that to whatever footprint, because now it's all about person-centered thinking when it comes to our adults with disabilities. So whatever it is that they want to do, it's my job to figure out how to make that happen.
That's awesome. So taking, coming all the way from Marshall, Texas, to your upbringing in Oceanside, right? To having this deal of, oh my goodness, I'm going to be a father at 19, 20, being in the Bay Area and listening into the Army, then getting into the Army and doing really well.
Yes.
Getting the medical benefits that's required and needed to really bring up a healthy family. But then also get these distinguished awards. And then since I've met you, you have been a graduate of my program, but then you also got this great opportunity. You interviewed and was hired as the VP. Taking a culmination of those experiences, what would be your message to the world, Malcolm?
My Lord, my God, I'm not a very religious man, but however, I have a higher power and I love him. My God doesn't make any mistakes. He put me through some trial and tribulations to prepare me for what I am doing today. But I have a feeling, just my gut, I have plenty more to go because if I have the ability to affect change, that's what I want to do. And those are the opportunities that I look for. And Easter Seals just happened to be looking for somebody of my caliber. I was looking for a company such as Easter Seals, and it was like a match made in heaven. And I thank the Lord for the blessing to have that opportunity, for them to see that I am the man to make this happen. And I truly have been there almost 4 months now, and the culture is already starting to change. I already know they're getting provided the proper leadership, And come January 23 is when we're going to start expanding our footprint to what we have our adults with disabilities make happen.
So now, as a mentor, your self-reflection would be your messages that God makes no mistakes. Now, direct that towards a mentee that might be watching, that's going through some stuff, that might be expecting a baby when they didn't know that they were going to be expecting a baby. Uplift, empower, and inspire with a message directly to our viewer. Please, Brother Malcolm.
That is a great question. You know what? I would say something to this extent, Coach. Like I taught my son, or all three of my kids, the hardest thing to do is the right thing when no one is looking. As long as you keep that at the forefront of whatever decision that you make, right or wrong or indifferent, as long as you can look yourself in the mirror and know that you did the right thing, regardless of what other people say. You stick to your position, you stand your ground smartly, and then execute said task. So I would definitely say the hardest thing to do is the right thing when no one's looking.
All right, that's the title of our show right there. The hardest thing to do. I like it. Is the right thing when no one is looking. Thank you, Brother Malcolm, for taking this half hour plus just to visit with us. I do want to make sure that we check in, once a year. But I do have a hot seat question for you. And so you volunteered, and I'm the chief volunteer in charge as our nonprofit is ever expanding. The dynamics for paid staff and all that's going to change. But I have been that since 2013. You have generously not only donated, but also donated your time at our camps, at our friend-raising and fundraising events. Like, why do that, Brother Malcolm?
Man, well, one, you associate yourself with the right people. Coach, you're one of the baddest cats that I know. Cool as can be, humble as can be, but real as can be. And when the things that you are doing for the community, the same community I live in, right? I live here in Elk Grove. I'm an Elk Grovian. If there's something small that I can do, and I look at it as it's the small potatoes, be it a donation of some funds or an hour or two of my time, to see a kid smile, to hear a kid say some of the things that we're preaching as far as our character. Again, hardest thing to do, right thing when no one's looking. When we start hearing our kids say that, that's going to carry them through, because then it's a domino effect. They'll tell their friends, when they're raising their children, they'll be saying some of these same sayings to them, because this is what right looks like. And if I have a part to play, or if I can play a part to help enhance that, be it time or money, then it's a done deal.
I appreciate you, Brother Malcolm, and specifically talk about, so there's almost 130 something kids at our West Sac camp, football. And then your drill that you were running, I think you were running the L drill, right? Was it the L drill?
L drill.
And we featured and we did a competition between players. And this is why I love sports. I have no issue at all with science, technology, and all that stuff. I love that stuff. I just am not an expert in how to translate the life lessons from a lab into life, leadership, business, sports, and relationships, right? But sports does. So we highlighted your drill and we had kids compete. Yes. Right. There was a winner and a loser. And if you lost, you came and shook hands. Yes. But if you won, the spotlight was on the vibe and the energy and the impact we made on those kids. And then for those kids who weren't in the competition to see, like, hey, man, this ain't all fun and games. At some point, this stuff gets real. And you got to make choices. You got to perform your best. And then regardless of the situation or circumstance or the outcome being win or lose, that you continue to move forward towards your goals, dreams, hopes, and aspirations. Talk about that drill and your experience to running that drill, Malcolm.
You know what? It brought back a lot of good memories. I played football, but I didn't get to play, I didn't get to play like Pop Warner football.
Right. Because neither did I. Yep.
Yeah, they didn't have the $44, $45 for me to play. So we played tackle football on the street. I mean, I grew up on Boynton Street in Oceanside on the east side. We were playing tackle football on Boynton Street, right? That's what we did. And so you toughened up. You may have scraped your knee a little bit, but then you brush it off because your boys are watching, right? Don't give them any room to say you soft or anything. So you cowboyed up and then you went back at it again. When I was doing those drills with those kids, I remember I stopped playing running back because I got tired of getting hit and I wanted to start hitting folk. So I switched, I played corner. And I usually would pick up the number one because I always had the speed. I had the fluid hips. I was a little bit lighter back then. But the backpedaling was what I was doing to them while they were starting off at that line, just so that they can feel the physical presence of an individual who is not only bigger than them, probably faster than them in a whole lot of aspects, but it gave them a little push. And that is all I wanted to do. And boy, when those kids were going, we had some kids that, little Tyreek Hill we had out there.
Oh my goodness.
Oh man, I remember that kid. I'm sitting there. Not only did we have a chance to impact those kids, Coach, we both remember that same kid, and we called him Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, man,
that's fast.
Man, not only was that kid fast, I think that kid was like 6 or 7, and he could beat some junior high kids in the L drill. But then, like junior right now, because of those drills, he trusts his agility and he's making cuts. It just in flag football, but still, it's still space. It's going to translate when he gets into tackling if Mama lets him do that. But you know what I mean.
Good luck with that.
I just wanted you to share that because I thought you did a phenomenal job every time you show up to serve. And is the reason why so many of us really reach different levels of success that people are just like, why them, right? What's different about them? Well, if serving is below you, leading people is above you too.
Real talk.
And I get it's a get world. I get P&Ls. I get profit loss. I get making money. I get all that. But there's a part of serving the people that work with you, for you, and then also serving the community and serving others to help them level up. After you've reached a certain level of success, that's the only way we can all achieve our greatest heights. So thank you for that. Final, Brother Malcolm, what's your final word about being on the show?
One, I thank you for giving me this opportunity to shed some light on Malcolm. I don't talk much about myself. I normally don't talk about my upbringing and some of the mishaps that I've made as a youngster. But if that reaches one child and helps he or she decide that, hey, if that guy can do it, I can do it. My job is done. I already know it because I've already affected change when it came to my children. I'm not questioning how they're going to elevate and level up. I already know they're going to because that's the way they were raised. But not everybody was raised that same way. So again, if what my experience and my ability to level up the way I have has the opportunity to affect change in somebody else's life, then brother, our job is done.
Yes, sir. Thank you for that, Brother Malcolm. And thank you for everybody out there tuning into this episode of the Coach V Show. You can catch us on YouTube. We'll be on Spotify as well. But every Motivation Monday, we're going to feature someone like Malcolm. And this is different because we've had a handful of people, but Malcolm is one of those people who had the valor. And there's a difference between courage and valor. And I love the word valor because he served our country. And valor goes beyond courage because it really makes no self-interest or preservation of themselves, that they would give everything for the cause. And really that cause, when you're serving the military, is the United States of America and our people. So we salute you, Brother Malcolm, and everybody out there that's servant. And we thank you for sharing your story of perseverance and that, do the right thing. The hard thing to do is the right thing when no one is looking. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in to the Coach V Show here on Island City. And for Malcolm and I, it is just not for the sake of success that you would tune in for a show like this, but really for the sake of being your best. In doing so, you realize the best of your abilities and that everything and anything that you dream, work, and pray for can be achieved. This is how your boy Malcolm and your boy Coach V lives, all about faith and family. Grateful for God's amazing grace. Until next Motivation Monday, one love and respect from your boy Coach V and your boy Malcolm. One love, mad respects, live it. Peace.